A normal first speech for a senator is usually a proactive, forward-looking speech. We're not in normal times. And the effects that this sequester will have on the country and the effects that it will have on my Commonwealth are so significant and severe that I do feel compelled to speak a little earlier than I otherwise might have.
Well, that was the new senator from Virginia, Tim Kaine, giving his first floor speech, and he did it this week, and he focused on how the sequester will hurt Virginia, a sign of the times, breaking from the traditional upbeat speech that most new senators want to make when their first time on the floor. So joining me now is Senator Tim Kaine. Good morning to you, sir.
Morning, Chuck.
Why shouldn't we look at the actions of everybody in Washington this week more so than the words? While the words of all the lawmakers and the president said sequester, bad, this is horrible, no good thing that should happen, the actions, when you observe, there was no serious negotiations, no serious attempt at stopping this, no serious backdoor subtle diplomacy. Actions seem to indicate that the parties are quietly okay with this going in. I don't get it.
Well, I think people, Chuck, I think people should look at the actions and they should condemn the actions or, frankly, the inaction. I don't think the parties are okay going into it. There are some members, and maybe members of both parties in both houses who are okay, but largely that's not the case. It's the gridlock that we have here, the unwillingness to compromise, people staying in their corners, that has become a real hallmark of Congress the last few years. And so now real people are starting to feel the effects. I did a tour around Virginia last week and went, face to face with all kinds of people who are feeling effects in their own communities, and so we've got to stay at the table and try to find a solution in the days ahead.
When is sequester so bad in your mind that you would be willing to replace it with cuts only? Basically break from the president and say, you know what, so this sequester is done so poorly. If we can't get Mitch McConnell and John Cornyn because of their own political reasons to support any deal that includes taxes, fine, here's a replacement cuts only version.
Well, Chuck, a cuts-only plan, I think, hurts the economy and hurts defense and hurts other key priorities. Take a look at what other countries are experiencing who are going with a cuts-only approach, and you will see that there is a strong likelihood that that would make our economy worse. So I really believe, use the Virginia example that was embraced successfully by Governor Bob McDonnell less than a week ago. If you want to do something positive for the economy, in this case it was on transportation, embrace a balanced approach that deals that helps the economy, in this case by using new revenue and finding savings. And I do think that that is the right step forward to protect core priorities like defense and the economy while also credibly reducing the deficit.
So, all right, what's going to happen going forward? So are we going to have an attempt to do cuts only to just turn off the sequester for this year and then negotiate tax reform and see if there's new revenues out of that?
So, Chuck, as you know, being new, I'm still kind of trying to discern what's kabuki and what's actual up here. But let me tell you what I think is going to happen. I started to see this week, with the pending votes yesterday, an awful lot of bipartisan discussion beginning in the Senate. And in a funny way, I really agree with Speaker Boehner. He used colorful language, but the only way we'll get a bipartisan deal to replace sequester with a more comprehensive approach to deal with our deficit and grow our economy is it's got to start in the Senate. And so this week, whether it was in committee hearings or behind closed door sessions, there started to be a lot of ferment and discussion between bipartisan groups of senators about what we can do to basically replace the gimmickry of sequester and continuing resolutions and get back on the ramp of annual budgeting. And we're writing our FY 2014 budget, and we've even put our paychecks on the line if we don't have it off the floor by the 15th of September. So we got to kind of build a bridge between where we are today and this normal budgeting process, and that discussion is hot and heavy right now.
I want to ask you about a little Virginia politics. Bill Bolling has sent out an email, the Republican lieutenant governor, basically looking to see if there's public support out there for an independent bid. Do you think he would be a serious challenge to defeat both Ken Cuccinelli and Terry McAuliffe in the governor's race?
Chuck, as you know, I'm a Terry McAuliffe friend and supporter, but I will say this, Bill Bolling is a good guy and he'd be formidable. He was elected to the Hanover County Board of Supervisors, which is near Richmond, the year before I got elected to Richmond City Council. successful. He got elected in '93, and I got elected in '94, and we've sort of come up through local and then state politics, working together. You know, he was my lieutenant governor when I was governor. He would be a formidable candidate. You know, he has to decide. You have to fit through a kind of a narrow keyhole to run an independent race that's successful, and he's going to have to make that decision. I'm a strong supporter of Terry McAuliffe, but you know, Bill has an interesting path ahead as he tries to make that decision.
All right, Tim Kaine, new Democratic senator from Virginia, the former governor, of course, of the state of Virginia. Thanks for coming on, sir.
You bet.